The chandeliers in Lusoko's royal palace shimmered like captured stars, their golden light casting long shadows over the grand banquet hall. It was a celebration, a royal engagement that had captivated the nation, yet Crown Prince Adrian Mensah sat motionless at the head of the table, his fingers curled around the stem of a half-full wine glass. Beside him, Lady Vanessa Adebayo was every bit the perfect future queen, composed, graceful, the kind of woman who never missed a step in the dance of royal politics. She laughed at the right moments, nodded at the right people. She played her role effortlessly. But Adrian, he was drowning. The weight of expectation pressed down on him, suffocating. The walls of the palace, the gold-trimmed ceilings, the eyes of his parents watching him like hawks, it all felt like a cage. He knew what was expected. He was to marry Vanessa, solidify the alliance between their families, and continue the tradition of ruling with duty above all else. But duty had never made his heart race. Not like Amora Davis did. Amora had been an accident. A conversation at a charity event. A moment of honesty in a life filled with rehearsed lines. She wasn't noble. She wasn't polished by royal tradition. But she was real. She challenged him, made him laugh in a way that felt unpracticed, made him feel like he was more than a title. And now, sitting next to Vanessa, Adrian knew the truth. He was in love with Amora. Across the table, Princess Naomi Mensah had been watching her brother all evening, her sharp eyes catching every flicker of discomfort, every forced smile. Unlike Adrian, Naomi had never cared much for royal duty. She had spent months secretly running an online platform questioning outdated traditions, speaking for a generation that wanted change. That night, when the palace halls were quiet, Naomi sent a single message to her followers. Should a future king be forced to marry for duty, or does he deserve to choose his own happiness? By morning, the entire kingdom was talking about it. The response was immediate. Social media erupted. Hashtag Let Adrian Choose, hashtag Love or Duty, hashtag Modern Royalty, the hashtags trended worldwide. The royal family found themselves facing a firestorm unlike anything they had ever seen. The press demanded answers. The elders demanded silence. The prime minister warned of instability. And then the backlash hit. Vanessa's family, furious at the growing resistance, launched a counterattack. News outlets loyal to them painted Amora as a manipulator, an outsider trying to disrupt the monarchy. They called her an opportunist, accused her of chasing status. Then, in the cruelest move of all, Naomi was exposed as the mastermind behind the rebellion. The throne room was silent when Adrian was summoned. His father, King Emmanuel Mensah, sat stiff-backed on the gilded throne, his face unreadable. "You have a choice," the king said, his voice heavy with finality. "Marry Vanessa and fulfill your duty, or walk away." Abdication. The word wasn't spoken, but it hung in the air like a blade. To choose Amora would mean leaving the crown behind. Leaving behind the life he had always known. He had expected to feel afraid. Instead, as he met his father's gaze, something inside him settled. For the first time in his life, the choice was his. The morning of the wedding arrived, but there was no prince at the altar. The palace doors remained closed. The grand cathedral, adorned with flowers and draped in royal banners, stood in stunned silence as whispers spread among the guests. Adrian was gone. Far from the palace, beyond the marble halls and golden chandeliers, he stood outside a modest brick apartment, his heart pounding. He knocked once, twice. The door opened. Amora stood there, dressed in a simple cotton dress, her eyes widening in shock. "Adrian." He exhaled, a slow, relieved breath. "I couldn't do it." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions. Then, Amora's lips parted, and for the first time in months, Adrian saw it, that soft, unguarded smile. She stepped back, holding the door open. And just like that, the prince who walked away from a crown stepped into the life he had chosen. Months later, the headlines still buzzed with speculation. The prince who chose love over a kingdom. Some called him foolish. Others called him brave. The monarchy faced an uproar, forced to confront the reality of a changing world. Naomi, ever the rebel, took the opportunity to push for reforms, small steps, but steps nonetheless. As for Adrian, he had never imagined a life outside the palace. But as he walked through its towering gates one last time, stepping into the unknown, he realized something. He had never truly lived until now. The months that followed were hard. Without royal privileges, Adrian had to learn how to be an ordinary man. He took a job teaching history at a small university, found a modest apartment, and slowly built a life free from expectations. And through it all, Amora was there. They shared laughter over late-night takeout, whispered about dreams that once seemed impossible. There were no guards, no royal schedules, no scripted public appearances, just them. For the first time, Adrian was not a prince. He was simply a man in love. But kingdoms do not forget their kings. One evening, as Adrian and Amora walked through the bustling streets of Lusaka, a black government car pulled up beside them. The royal crest gleamed on its door. A man in a dark suit stepped out. "Your Highness," he said, his voice steady but urgent. "The king is ill. The council requests your return." Adrian's chest tightened. For months, he had been free. He had built a life of his own, away from the burdens of the throne. But the weight of his duty had never truly left him. Amora turned to him, searching his face. She didn't ask what he was thinking. She knew. When Adrian stepped back into the palace, it was not as the rebellious prince who had abandoned his crown. It was as a man who had chosen his path and was ready to lead. The elders, once skeptical, saw something different in him now. He was not the same boy they had tried to mold into a puppet king. He was stronger, wiser. He had seen the world outside the palace walls, understood the people in a way no king before him had. When his father passed, Adrian was crowned king of Lusaka. But this time, the throne did not define him. And when he stood on the royal balcony, looking over the city, Queen Amora stood beside him, no longer an outsider, but his equal. The prince who had once walked away from duty had returned. Not as a prisoner of tradition, but as a ruler who had rewritten the rules.
Every story holds a lesson. What did this one reveal to you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, like, share, and subscribe for more timeless tales. Until next time, keep searching for meaning in every story.